Hello everyone, my name is Kate Marshall. The name of my channel is called Inked Paper Art, and today's video is day 156 of 365 days of junk journal ideas. I have a mess of stuff out on my desk today because we are going to play. We are going to play with embossing folders. We are going to play with distress ink and distress oxide. We're going to cut some cardstock. We're going to do some embellishing. I've got all kinds of embellishments up there. We're going to have fun. So this video is all about closures. This is making a beautiful closure that you can use on any type of project you need a closure for. The first thing that we're going to use today is cardstock. I have coffee dyed 12 by 12 cardstock, and I have a plain sheet of regular white cardstock. It's just 65 pound. Nothing thick like that. It's perfectly fine. 65 pounds good. We're going to cut these into about 1-inch strips. It doesn't have to be 1-inch strip. It could be any size, but I'm going to go 1 inch, 1.5 inch, something of that matter. So I'm just going to line this up in my cutter and we're going to cut. And I'm cutting on the 11-inch side. So that's a 1.5 inch piece. And then I will cut us a 1-inch piece just so we can see. Actually, I'm going to do 1.5 inch. 1 inch would be a little bit too skinny for what I have in mind for closures today. So I'm going to cut 1.5 inch, and we're just going to use up this paper and get as many 1.5 inches as we can. And I'm trying to see if I'm lined up. I'm not sure. There we go. I've got glare. With all these lights on, I've got glare. So this closure, and we're going to actually have a finished project that the closure goes on to also. And this closure can be used to tie up all kinds of folios and thicker elements that you're going to put inside of like a pocket in a junk journal. I have a different video for closures for junk journals. So out of that page, we got 5 closures. And a little skinny closure, we'll use it. So there's that. Let's cut this 12 by 12. And I don't need to cut the whole 12 by 12, but I will cut some strips that are 1.5 inch wide. And there we go. That's crooked. Like I said, I've got glare. So let's try that again. 1.5 inches without being crooked brings me to there. There we go. Better. So we're just going to keep doing this until I've got all my strips cut. And then we're going to move on to the next step. One more here. I can't get it out. The little skinny strip. All right, there we go. So I'm going to pause, cut up the rest of this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've cut up all my little strips. They are 1.5 inch or whatever was left of the piece of cardstock by 11 inches or 12 inches, however long they were. I just left them that long, right? So the next thing that we need to do is we need to take our pieces of cardstock and you're going to wrap it around to where the two ends, wrap it around, don't crease anything yet, just wrap it around to where they just slightly overlap. And so position that overlap in the center roughly and just let it slightly overlap and then crease it. And so this is how much of a, how wide of an item you can use this closure for. Now, if you have an item and you know how wide it is, then make this closure be as wide as that item is. But for me today, I'm just going to make closures ahead of time that are this size. From here, you could refold and change them later, but I do have a project that fits this. So from 11 inches, I just slightly overlapped my pieces so I can glue them closed there. Okay, so then I'm going to fold up a 12 by 12 and show you that one too, or fold up one from the 12 by 12. And so again, we're just wrapping it around and overlapping kind of in the center. It's not exact. I'm not measuring. It doesn't matter. And then just fold it on the corners. And there we go. And so this one overlaps a little bit right there. That's kind of how much overlap I left. Okay, so I'm going to fold up the rest of these and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so next step after you folded all of your pieces, and I just overlapped them slightly in the center or center-ish, is choose some embossing folders that you like the pattern of. These are some different Anna Griffin ones. They're kind of floral patterns. These ones have a little bit more detail, and you could position your strip where, you know, you can choose which part of the design you get on your strip, and that might be kind of fun. And then, so I just have some Cuttlebug. They're also Anna Griffin. This is a Sizzix one. So just choose whatever pattern that you want to work with. I'm going to choose this one. It's one of my favorites. And so then you're going to take your embossing machine, whatever machine you're using. You guys know this one is in here. It's my camping die cutting machine. And it is in here because it doesn't require electricity. And so I'm just going to take 2 strips. Doesn't really matter, and I'm just going to position them in here. I will try to keep them straight, but ultimately it really doesn't matter that much. You can position them after you've got it closed a little bit too. So I am going to try to get some flowers on these, being a little bit fussy with it. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put it on my plate, make my little sandwich the way that my machine tells me to make a sandwich. And then I'm going to run it through. Now, if you have an electric die cutting machine, which I have many of them, but they're in my craft room, this project is much easier to sit down and mass make with an electric die cut machine, but you could do it with whatever, right? And so then you get your little pieces out and they have embossed pattern on them. Okay, so this is what your little pieces look like. Now, I've done a bunch of them off camera so that you wouldn't have to sit here while I did a bunch. So let me show you the ones I've done. All right, so all of my little bands, my belly bands, if you will, all of my closures are embossed. They're all on copy dyed and white paper. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put some ink over them if you wish. If you don't wish, then don't, you know, do that part of it. For me, I think it's cute to add it. Even just the vintage photo, just it kind of brings out that embossed pattern just a little bit. So I'm just going over it just a little here or there, and it'll make it show up a little bit more. And I do like the vintage photo on the coffee dyed paper. However, we have a bunch of other colors that I brought in for us to play around with today. So that's what that looks like. Now I would ink around the whole entire belly band as well. And so we're just going to go ahead and take a moment to do that. And so there's the little belly band closure. And you can see on this one, I positioned my embossing folder where I would get that part of the pattern. And then even on the debossed side, I go ahead and add a little bit of ink. And then you can go ahead and ink that side too. Well, maybe you can. And then we're going to change the ink color and get a little bit of a different look. Okay, so that's the copy dyed with the vintage photo. And you're not going to see this. It's going to get glued down. So don't bother inking in there, even though I couldn't resist the temptation. So there's that one. Now, if we pull off our little ink blendy thing, we can pick up a clean one. And let's go ahead and do a little bit of, color. Let's do some blue on this guy here. So this is chipped sapphire, and I have a brand new blendy thing, blendy foam. And so yeah, we're just going to add a little color and see the difference when you add color to it. It's just so nice. And these are those blendy foams that I linked and shared with you guys a while ago. They work really, really well. And they're not from Ranger. They're very inexpensive, but I do love them. And I will show you the before and after of the ink. But just adding a little ink over it, even the debossed side, totally changes the belly band. And I'll kind of go in and do a little darker here or there. Kind of highlight that. But here's the blue over the embossed. Okay, beautiful, right? And then I've got one fallen on the floor. Apparently it wants colored as well. So let's do some different colors while we're at it. I'm going to pull this guy off. Down here I have lumberjack plaid, and you know guys, I'm working in the French country, so obviously I'm choosing colors that go with that color scheme. Let's go ahead and make this. Now this one, this embossing folder is a bad folder. Like it just it always makes the paper come apart. And so see how my paper's cracked right there? Before I use this in a project, I will probably line the back part with another paper just to keep that together. But for today, we're just going to go ahead and pretend it's not there. And we're going to put some lumberjack plaid on this one. Ooh, that is a beautiful color over the coffee dye. Oh my gosh, loving that. So I will link what I'm using in the Amazon links section of the description box. Now, many of you guys will already have these supplies, so don't feel like you have to run out and grab them. But lumberjack plaid, who knew, over coffee dye? It's such a beautiful color. Goodness. I'm loving the lumberjack plaid. I will link it. But over coffee dyed paper specifically, that is a beautiful one. So this is the back side, the debossed side with lumberjack plaid. But look at that. That is phenomenal. Now, if we wanted to ink our edges just to give it a little frame, we could do that too. And I think that is a nice look, especially when it's on your project. And you guys are like, well, what project are we using these on? Well, I'm going to show you a project today, but you can use these over anything. You could glue this down to a page. Like you could take this page, glue this down as a belly band and just slide things through it. But I'm going to show you a project that this can be a closure for. So that was lumberjack plaid. Now let's do some pastels because not everybody is working on a French country journal that is red and blue. So let's do some plaid or some pastels. Sorry. Pastels. Let's do pastel on this guy. I think he would like to be bundled sage. Let's do that. And I do have used foams somewhere. I cannot find my foams to save my life today. So anyway, we're going to just use new ones and they'll be in the bin from next time or for next time. This was a Sizzix folder. I don't know exactly. It said it probably on the folder, but I don't have the folder here now. So we're just going to go with it. There's that side. And so I do have some paper flower sitting next to me. Now this could be like what Gail considers a forgotten friends project because I am using things like embossing folders, that super old die cutting machine, and these paper flowers that honestly, it could be forgotten friends video like she does because we're using things in this one that we don't normally, like, you know, we forget about these things. We have so many craft supplies as crafters. I mean, almost all of us, right? If you're just starting out, maybe the collecting of craft supplies bug hasn't got you yet. But for most of us, yeah, collecting craft supplies and using craft supplies are two different hobbies. So anyway, let's do this little guy here and let's do him with some purple. This color is called Shaded Lilac. So let's just get some shaded lilac in there and see how it just hits the embossed parts. It's really beautiful to do this. And of course, you know, you could make all kinds of things with this. You could emboss tags and do this kind of, you know, little embellishing on them. And let's do the debossed side. It's a completely different look when you do the debossed side. The debossed side, it will color the cardstock and leave the white debossed part white. And so let's go ahead and put some color around the edge of this guy. It just helps. Sometimes when we lined up our embossing folders, we might not have got a ton of pattern. So putting the color around kind of helps make it look better. So there's that one, and that's the lilac. And if you wanted it darker, you go in and make it darker. There we go. There's that one. Okay, we've got one more color I think I want to do, and then we're going to move on to the next part of this project. We're going to do, this one is Iced Spruce, and it is one of my favorite colors. And again, I know there is foams for these somewhere, but this is Iced Spruce. And I'm going to load that guy up. Let's do iced spruce. This was a lace pattern embossing folder. And so I've got some lace on here. Ooh, that is beautiful. Love that. It's like a tealy blue green. And with a lot of the French journals and digitals and things like that, that is a really pretty one. Love that. We'll use this color a lot. And so I'm just going to go around the edge. Okay, so we're going to move on to embellishing our belly bands and then the project that our belly bands go around. At least in this video, like I said, you could use these many different ways. It's just a fun thing to do. Like you could sit here in front of the TV and you could make your little belly bands. Then once you've got them done, I have a bunch more here. Let me go ahead and color these and then I'll be right back and we'll keep going. Okay, so my belly bands are all inked. I have some embellishments. We're going to move on to the next step. The next step, you're going to want some coffee dyed paper. Sometimes thinner is better and sometimes thicker is better. So in this pile, I do have some thinner weight ones somewhere in here, hopefully. Here's a thinner weight one. So thinner will fold easier. And so I have several thin here. Let's use those for this project. And what we're going to do is we're going to recreate a French letter fold. French letters, the original blue, can I reach one? These guys here. These guys are antique French letters. And French letters are usually folded where they've got this little flap over here, and that little flap would tuck down into this and it would have a wax seal on it. But we're going to recreate these French letter folds and we're going to make our own out of coffee dyed paper, and we're going to use our belly bands to keep them closed. That's just one project of a million. And I told you we needed some belly bands or some closures for a project earlier in the week. So we could also use those belly bands that we just made for that closure also. But let's get started with the French letter folds. So French letter folds, very simple. What you're going to do is you're going to take your 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper or whatever size paper you're going to use. On the long side, you're going to take your paper, fold up about a little, slightly more than a third. So it's really just a random amount, but it is slightly wider here than right here. Okay. And then you're going to fold it over again. And that part isn't really that important. You could, fold it in thirds if you want to. I just think it works better this way. So there we go. We did that. Again, this is our paper. We folded up the bottom part slightly more than the top part. That's where it meets. Then we're going to take it on the side, on the left, and we're going to roll it over and leave about 1/2 inch right there. And we're going to straighten that out and give that a fold. So use your bone folder. The smoother you can make all of your folds, the better this project comes out. And then we have this little 1/2 inch piece here. And what we're going to do is we're going to first wrap it over and fold it. So we just wrapped it over our whole project there. So it's like this. It opens like that. And then from there, it all opens. And then you're going to take this section here, the long section, not the short one, right? The long one. Pop your finger in there and get that open, just like that. And you're going to tuck this whole flap in there. And that's why I'm saying this project, the French letter fold, really does work best on thinner paper. It's possible to do it on thick. I did do it on thick ones as well, but I think it just works a little bit better on thinner paper. So this is what you end up with. You end up with something that is completely sealed. You don't even need a closure on it. And that's a French letter, really. And so from there, we're going to take our belly bands and we're just going to, choose one randomly. And we're going to start by positioning it. Now, this one is just a little bit larger than this folded letter, but I'm good with it. So we're going to take that and we're going to position it around it just like this. Now, if you need to resize yours, just refold it and make that little part overlap right there. That's where we're going to add our glue to keep this guy closed. And so normally you wouldn't have your letter down there when you were making a closure, but mine's there. So there we go. Add a little bit of art glitter glue if you're worried that it's going to seep out. If you're ever worried with art glitter glue that it's going to seep out and make a mess, just give it a moment to just kind of start to set up. And then when you fold it over or put your pocket together or whatever, you're less likely that it is going to seep out and make a humongous mess and stick everything together and all that fun stuff. So this is our little belly band. Let that glue dry. Then you're going to slide it onto whatever it is that you're trying to keep closed. Now, again, with these French letter folds, you don't need to keep it closed. But if you want to, just add decoration to a plain coffee dyed piece of paper. And then you could top it off with, you know, one of these little paper flowers. There's giant ones, there's whatever. If you're sticking this in an envelope or a pocket in a junk journal, you're going to want something that is thinner so that it doesn't, you know, get in the way of things. But use up those old paper flowers. Like I have this gigantic bin of just paper flowers that never got used for anything. And so you could do paper flowers. The other options are, because there's a million options, you could do a little like crochet doily, a little bit of lace, a little cluster right there, because it's not really keeping it closed. At this point, it's just decoration and kind of hiding that seam that we made right there. You could layer two things up if you wanted to. You could also take, let's do another one because it won't look good on the blue, but let's do this pink one right here. So this one was Tattered Rose. This was the color that I used, was Tattered Rose. So I'm going to put a little art glitter in there, get that guy to close, and then we'll wrap it around one of those French letter folds, and I'll show you guys that again too. It's not a hard fold. It's just a little bit different than what we're used to seeing in the US. And so hopefully this one fits around, because this was made out of 8.5 by 11. It does. So slide your little belly band on. Position it right there. And then you could take your little doily bit. You could add one of the little ribbon roses or whatever else you have. You could make a little lace cluster there. You can make it cutesy. You can make it French. You can make it vintage. You can make it shabby chic. You could do whatever you wanted to do with it, right? But the point of it is we have these awesome closures that can be sized and made to close anything. And sometimes a closure is a hard thing, right? And these are great. And the other thing that this video really showed you guys was take out some white cardstock, some copy dyed cardstock, and go ahead and ink it, emboss it and ink it up. It's simple. It's something that we kind of forgot about because most of us have had these, you know, embossing folders, you know, for a very long time. And we don't really use them that much in junk journaling anymore. And that's a shame because we bought them because we love them. We like our craft supplies. We just sometimes, you know, they get lost in the shuffle. We have a million craft supplies at our disposal, whether we own them all or not. There's a million out there. And so, you know, take something that you're not using any longer and decorate it up, emboss it. Like here's a very vintage kind of book page looking rose. That would be beautiful around just some coffee dyed paper in a journal. Let me see if I can get this one to fit in there. Maybe. Yes, maybe. Anyway, simple things, but beautiful in the end. And that's the whole point of showing you guys, like, you know, we all have these things, probably we forgot about them, but look at how pretty that would look. That would look gorgeous. And the point of the coffee dyed paper is the person that buys these journals or gets the journal or whatever, they will have a full sheet of coffee dyed paper that they can open up and journal in. And so it's just a way of adding a full page with very little effort, honestly. And I mass made a ton of these. And so I can just sit here and glue these all together and then wrap them around some coffee dyed paper. So this is one of the ones that I did with the lumberjack plaid. And so there's that. We'll let that sit for a moment. And let's do another one of those French letter folds because somebody will probably ask me or be like, hey, could you have done another one? More than one anyway. So 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. We're going to fold it along the 11-inch side, right? I've got it where the 11 inches is facing me. And I'm going to fold it up a little more than a third. So I'm trying to, there we go, a little more than a third. Again, that part, it doesn't have to be exact. And then fold down the top. There we go. Just keep it straight as you're going. I'm going to take that little bone folder, wherever I've lost him at, and just give that a press. The flatter you can keep it, the easier it is to do all the folds. Right here, if you get bulk, use your bone folder. You're going to leave a 1/2 inch here. If you get bulk right here and it doesn't want to fold nice, use your bone folder and put it in there and kind of pull it, and that straightens out that paper right there. So if it starts to kind of crinkle up on you, put your bone folder in there and smooth it out. So we've done our third folds. This way, this way, this way. We've got it this way. We've got 1/2 inch here. We're just going to fold it. It's very simple, and I'll do another one without talking about so many other things and twisting it around so much. And then you pop open this section, the long section, and you just pop that little bit in there. And then you're going to want to just bone fold that closed. And you've got a completely sealed little packet because it's tucked in right there. It's not going to open on you. One more of those quick, okay? 11 inches is facing me, the 11-inch side of my paper. I'm going to fold it up a little over a third so that this section is wider than this section. Then I'm going to fold that section down. Again, it's not hard, but some people will ask, so we're just doing it. Then I just bone fold that just to kind of flatten it, right? And then I'm going to fold it up, fold over the left side until I have about 1/2 inch right here. You don't want to leave this bit too long because that's the piece that you have to tuck in. And if it's super long, it won't want to go in there. Especially, you know, the thicker the paper, the harder to do this kind of closure, this kind of French letter fold. So open up that side. Then you're going to fold this guy over. I'm going to crease him again. And then I'm going to open up this middle section here, just like that. This is the little flap. And I'm going to tuck this whole bundle of paper inside of there. And there we go. It's done. So there's that. And then I'll just choose some kind of cute looking little closure over here. Maybe this guy. And I'll wrap that around. And I'll put a flower or some kind of embellishment. Like you could make it a little shabbier looking. It's really a cute idea. It's not my original idea. I saw this a long time ago. I don't know where, couldn't tell you. But, you know, there's a million paper flowers that probably, if you were a card maker at some point, you probably have some paper flowers. If you don't have paper flowers, you can Google how to make paper flowers and it will show you, or I will show you soon enough on this channel. I'm quite certain. So anyway, just figure out what kind of thing you want to put inside of a belly band. It could even just wrap around like a tri-fold tag. Like you could take this coffee dyed paper, and I'm wrapping it up. You take this coffee dyed paper and you could just fold it over in thirds this way and make yourself a tri-fold tag. You could snip off, we have done tri-fold tags. Snip off your corners. It's a little uneven, but who cares? And then put your belly band around that. And now you have a tri-fold tag. Okay. And then you would resize your belly band to fit around it, and it would keep your full sheet of paper closed. So just a cute idea. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've got a big mess to clean up, but I had fun. That's the whole point of it. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.